before that, lesson one, of course, we're going to begin with the pronunciation of Chinese because this is a Chinese beginner class. But before that, I would like to ask you a question about your impressions about Chinese language. So I'm talking about Chinese. So what do you think about Chinese language? So what is your impression? What does Chinese language sound like and looks like? Okay, so maybe that's an interesting question. But as far as I know, some of the foreign learners of Chinese, their image or impressions about Chinese language are Chinese characters, which are very difficult, right? So Chinese characters looks very complicated to us, and we don't know how to read it. We don't know how to write it, right? So for example, this one. Actually, this is a very simple Chinese characters, but on writing it, we will feel complicated and challenging, right? And we don't know how to read it. Because Chinese characters do not show much pronunciation. It's not like English or maybe French, some language written in alphabet. So you can try to spell it. Maybe you can guess the pronunciation, right? But Chinese characters have a very different writing system. It consists of strokes, right? Like when you write a characters, maybe you feels like you're drawing a picture. So because Chinese characters consist of strokes, not letters, not alphabets. So because of this, we do not see much of the pronunciation of Chinese characters. So it's very challenging to us. But luckily, we have a kind of phonetic transcriptions for the Chinese characters. When we learn characters, we have to learn the pronunciation first. And the way we learn the pronunciation is Pinyin, which is the phonetic transcriptions of Chinese characters. So in Pinyin, we will find it's much more easier for us to learn because this one consists of strokes. It's like drawing a picture. But in Pinyin, to show the pronunciation of these characters, is written in this way. So luckily, it is written in alphabet. Okay, so which is much easier for us to learn. So this is like a letter N, right? This is I, right? So this is alphabet. This is letters. This is much more easier for us to learn. And this one is Chinese character. But when we write its pronunciation, when we give a phonetic mark for these characters, we write it this way. So H-A-O is letters, right? And this is phonetic transcriptions for Chinese characters, which we call Pinyin. So please remember this name for these transcriptions. It's the Pinyin. So a Pinyin is a very basic and foundation of Chinese pronunciation. It's kind of a syllable. A Pinyin is a syllable, right? And it's a very basic unit of Chinese pronunciation. And this one read as ni, and this one read as hao. So together is ni hao. Maybe some of you already know this. This is very, greeting items in daily life in China. So everybody say ni hao many times in a day, right? When we meet each other, when we greet with each other, we say ni hao, like hello, hi, right? This is very basic. Okay, so this is the pinyin for these characters. And we want to focus on this pinyin because actually a pinyin can be divided into smaller parts. This is as a whole N-I, and this is a kind of a mark here, right, above the letter I. It can be divided into smaller parts. Now we are going to do this. This is ni. Here we put it here, zoom it up, right? And we focus on it. And it can be divided in this way. Let's do it together. Okay? So this is N and this is I, and this is kind of a mark. We don't know what is it yet. Okay? And a pinyin syllable as a whole is written in this way. And actually it can be divided into 3 parts. And for the left one, this N this left part, we say it's 声母. Okay, please try to read after me. 声母 initials. Because this is a syllable, and this syllable is initialed with this 声母. So begin with this N, right? So we call it initials. And this part, the lower right part, okay, this letter I, we say it's 韵母. So like a syllable begin with initials, right? This is the beginning part, and this letter is the ending part, so it's the finals. So initials and finals, 声母 and 韵母. And this part, this like special mark, we say it's 声调, tones. So now we know a pinyin syllable as a whole is written in this way, but actually a pinyin syllable can be divided into 3 parts, which are 声母 initials, 韵母 finals, and tones 声调. Okay, this is the pinyin syllable. And now we want to focus on this 声调. Okay, this is the pinyin syllable as a whole. Okay, you can see these initials, finals, and tones. As a whole, it's kind of combinations, right? So a combination is a pinyin syllable. Okay, it's consists of initials, finals, and tones, and altogether it's kind of a combinations. Okay, so a combination is a pinyin syllable. Okay, let's make a stop, and we'll continue with next session of this class. Okay, so now we want to focus on this part, 声调. Okay, 声调. Let's see a little bit about 声调. So, 声调 actually is a kind of feature of Chinese language. Maybe some of you already know this. Chinese language is a tone language. Maybe this is a very different from your mother language, right? So you can like think about your mother language. Does your mother language have tones? You can think about it. But Chinese language have tones, which is a kind of feature of Chinese language, and which maybe unfortunately make the Chinese pronunciation a little bit challenging for foreigners to learn, right? And also, do you know how many tones are there in Chinese language? Anyone knows? Okay, so there are 4 tones in Chinese language. So we say this is the first tone, 一声. Okay, please try to read after me. 一声, the first tone, and 二声, the second tone, 三声, the third tone, 四声, the fourth tone. Right, so there are 4 tones together in Chinese language. Okay, and there are different marks for each tone. It's written this way. So for the first tone, 一声, it is written this way. It's high and flat, it's level, just a kind of level, a line. Okay, and the second tone, 二声, is written this way. It's kind of up. It's an up level. It's up line. Okay, upcoming line. Okay, and third tone is kind of in this way. It's lower down and then it's up. It's going up. Okay, so this is 三声 mark, and the fourth tone, 四声 mark, is like a down. Okay, it's from beginning here and then it's down. So this is the different marks for the 4 tones. Okay, so now let's get a kind of impressions about how does the 4 tones sound like, how does the 4 tones read like. Okay, so let's make example. Initials plus finals. So here initials, we choose this letter M. Maybe now we don't know how to read it. It reads as M. Okay, it's M. And this finals, we choose this letter A, which is read as R. Okay, so this is M plus R, initials plus finals. Okay, so we can try to read under the different tones. So initials M, finals R, and together with the 4 different tones, the first tone, second tone, third tone, and the fourth tone, it is read in this way. Please try to read after me. Ma, 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 ma. Okay, let's read again. The first tone, second tone, third tone, and fourth tone. So it sounds like this, in this way. So please try to read after me. So learning pronunciation at the very beginning period of learning pronunciation. So mimic is very important. So you use your ear and you try to read after what you hear. Okay, so practice again and again many times, and you can learn the pronunciation of a new language. Okay, so let's read again. Ma, 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 ma. Okay, again. Ma, 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 ma. Okay, so this is the 4 tones in Chinese language. And the tones are very important to Chinese language. And one reason is that it can be different, different syllables with different tones. It can have different meanings. Okay, so this is why that is why tones are so important in Chinese language. For example, this ma, 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 ma. This is the initials and the finals are all the same, right? All the 4 syllables, they have the same initials and the finals. The only difference between them are the tones, right? This is the first tone, second tone, of third tone and the fourth tone, but they have different meanings, completely different meanings because of the different tones. Okay, so the first tone ma means mother. Okay, and second tone ma means sesame, right? And third tone ma means a horse, and the fourth tone ma means to abuse, to curse, which is quite different, right? So please do not make difference. Please do not make mistakes in reading Chinese tones because it could have different meanings. If you want to say mother, you read as ma, the first tone, read as ma. The mother could be a horse, which is a terrible mistake. Okay, it's a kind of joke, but I want to tell you that the pronunciation when you learn at the very beginning to learn Chinese pronunciation, please pay attention to the Chinese tones and please learn carefully of the Chinese tones. That will be a very good habit of learning Chinese pronunciation. Okay. Okay, so let's continue with the initials of lesson 1. Okay. So the initials for lesson 1 will be these. It's already listed here. So please try to read after me. There's a kind of short note for these initials when we learn initials. Actually, initials are consonants. If we have some knowledge of phonetics, we know that consonants does not make sounds, right? A consonant does not make sound. We cannot hear a consonant. If we read as a phonetic way to read these initials, it's soundless. We cannot hear it. So for practice, we should hear the initials. So when we practice these initials, actually we already add a vowel to each initials. For this one, it's like a p. We cannot hear it, right? But when we practice, we add an O to it. So it's read as a bo. So it can be sounded, right? Add a bo. So for this group, we add a bo. And for this group and this group, we add a to these initials so that it can be sounded, it can be heard, okay? Okay, so now let's read the first line of the initials. Please try to read after me. Bo, po, mo, fo. Okay, let's read again. Bo, po, mo, fo. Okay, second line. De, te, ne, le. Okay, again. De, te, ne, le. Okay, the last line. Ge, ke, he. Okay. Ge, ke, he. Okay. So in all the 3 lines, so there are minimal pairs of each group. For example, the first line, this bo and the po, they are like a minimal pairs. Because the only difference between bo and the po, you can feel the air coming out through your mouth. For the first one, bo, there's even no air coming out from our mouth. It's like a bo. And this one is a po. So for po, you can feel there's stronger air coming out from our mouth. Okay, so this is the difference between bo and po. Bo and po. And similarly, for de and te, they are the same. De, there's no air. There's no air. For te, there's like a breath, air coming out from our mouth. Okay, so this is de, te, and this one the same. Ge, okay, no breath out, no air out. Okay, and for ke, stronger breath out and stronger air coming out from our mouth. Okay, so please feel it. Bo, po, de, te, ge, ke. Okay, good. So this is initials for this